exhaustion, nausea, just feeling like you have nothing to give to anyone. That's what the first trimester can feel like. And I am here to bring you my top tips. I am on my 5th pregnancy and I'm about 21 weeks. So I just went through the first trimester and it is fresh in my mind. I have not forgotten what that first trimester feels like. It is a very unique feeling. Also, I'm gonna cover some of the top areas that are really uncomfortable in the first trimester. So hey, my name is Lana. This is Girl Teach Me. This whole channel is about you. It's about helping you become the faith-filled woman you are meant to be. I want you to be all that you can possibly be. I want you to max out all the potential God gave you. And so that's what this channel is about. And before I get started, I want to tell you, I made a huge pregnancy survival guide for you to help you through this whole pregnancy. It's first, second, third trimester, even into birth. And I really want you to go grab that free download because I think it's going to be a really helpful resource for you. There's lots of jam-packed info in there. And so make sure you go grab that. A lot of this info is in that survival guide, but you know, I might be bringing some candid hot tips that I forgot to add in there. So make sure you watch this too. Okay, so let's talk about, have you even taken a pregnancy test? Like, you know, you may have already done all that. If you haven't, let me tell you, the best place to go buy them is the Dollar Tree. They're so inexpensive there. So you know, maybe you've already done that this time. Put that tip in your pocket for later. They're really cheap and they work from the Dollar Tree. So the way that I generally knew I was pregnant at first was my breasts would get really tender. Of course, maybe I would miss my period if I was tracking it. I like to track my period and things like that, but a couple of times I've gotten pregnant like right when I first ovulated after I breastfed. So generally like tender boobs, really tired. That, I think for one of my pregnancies, I had this like really unique nauseous feeling that only comes in first trimester. And so those are the kind of the signs that I knew I was pregnant. So let's jump right into exhaustion. Really and truly, every time I've ever birthed a baby, I have a couple of thoughts right after I have the baby, like relief, excitement, absolute thrill and joy. And then one of the thoughts I almost always have is, this was forming inside of me. I cannot believe it. The intricacies of this little human, I am in total shock and awe every single time that this miracle is being knit together in my womb. And I realize that's why I was so tired. It like totally hits me. And this bucket of grace I wish I could have dumped on myself in pregnancy just like hits me. And I'm like, oh, that's why like all these unique organs and parts all are being formed. It's exhausting for your body to do that. And so just, that's one thing that kind of helps me, you know, when I'm really feeling so tired. And I also get kind of depressed sometimes when I know there's all these things I want to do and I'm used to a certain threshold and then I cannot meet that threshold. You know, it's like my battery power charge changes. I'm used to 100% or 90% and all of a sudden I have like 20 or 10% and I have to run on that all day. It can be really hard, but I think just remembering like that mindset of my body is working for me right now to help form this baby. The baby knows what to do, my body knows what to do, and it's a really tiring and energy intensive process. Also, the placenta hasn't formed completely and taken over the nourishment for the baby. And so that is a really exhausting process too. Your body is building like a whole organ to support the baby. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So on my first baby, I could lay down and rest a little bit more. I was working, so that was kind of challenging, but just going to bed a little bit earlier can really help. It's really challenging when you have other babies because you can't necessarily sleep anytime. I just tried to close off a couple of rooms and make those areas off limits and just simplify paper plates, things like that, and just all kind of huddle in one area. I would have to do homeschool from the couch and just really dial it down and simplify through that season. I know that's easier said than done. I even put some of the kids' clothes away, just minimized outfits. I wasn't doing so much laundry. I tried to just say no to more things out of the house. Even if I wasn't sharing with people why, I just had to really scale it back and have lots of grace for myself. And this kind of goes into the nausea piece. So let's talk about nausea. That's one of the biggest parts of the first trimester. It really is kind of like a blood sugar thing. All right, guys, had to move down because I don't know why I was sitting on my knees and it, it was hurting. So, let's see. So for me, nausea feels like a blood sugar issue. It kind of feels like that feeling when you haven't eaten in so long, or I just remember being at school and there was just such a long time from the time I ate breakfast till the time I got to eat lunch and being out of breath. Also can happen really early on in pregnancy too. And I would just feel so hungry that I felt like I was going to throw up. That's what the feeling feels like for me. I know it can be a little bit different for everybody, but one thing that helps is just regulating my blood sugar. And an absolute lifesaver this time was getting a little bit of protein, a little bit of meat. I actually love the Chomps beef sticks. Those were very, very helpful. Even just eating a bite of them just felt like it could stabilize me. I wanted meat. And every time in my first trimester, it feels like I want meat. Even when I was plant-based for a couple of years, I was like, if you don't take me to In-N-Out and get a hamburger, like, I'm leaving your butt here. I'm going right now. And Matt was like, you're not going to In-N-Out at 10 at night. I'm like, yes, I am. I needed meat so very badly. Sometimes I crave like Mongolian beef, just meat. And meat does help me. It just feels like the thing that really satiates that craving. These cravings are just like so intense. And so I oftentimes do try to get something that's similar to that craving because I feel like there's a reason why my body is craving that thing. Now, when it's like Sour Patch Kids, you know, I don't really know if we need that, but I do get some sometimes if it's, you know, it's like I try not to deprive myself and I really try to work on my nutrition. Nutrition is really, really important through pregnancy. And I actually have a book I'll tell you about in a little bit that's been really, really great. But she even says in there, like, do the very best you can in the first trimester. Eat simple carbs, like Cheerios and milk sounded good to me, like simple bread. That sounded good. Oatmeal, just anything that just felt kind of simple and bland. But it really varies person to person. So eating frequently helps that blood sugar dip. It helps you to stay level, but then also just listening to what you feel like your body is kind of craving. It's super fascinating. In some countries, they actually crave like chalk or dirt because there's certain minerals that they're lacking and they're craving. Obviously, you don't want to eat chalk and dirt. You can get parasites, but that's like people are craving this mineral. And so there's an intuition thing happening there where your body is needing something. So kind of think and listen to what your body is trying to crave. I also feel like my body wants more salt, real salt, that one, and then Malden salt. That's pretty good too. But I just crave salt, and it's because your body is making more blood for the baby, and so that makes sense through pregnancy as well. So one thing that really, really helps nausea is eating before your head even like comes off the pillow. So I would keep just some crackers or just something easy to store right by my bed, and literally just as soon as I could, just eating a little bit of that just felt like it kept me from this like quick plummet, because I felt like as soon as I woke up, I'm on the clock for my blood sugar. It starts to just feel like it's tanking. And so getting an egg in me as quick as I could, you know, getting some crackers or something like that, just a simple carb, that felt like that kept me from the plummet, because I feel like when I would go over the edge too far, that's when I would feel like I was going to throw up. And then another thing that really can make a nausea worse is honestly taking supplements. And so prenatals are really important, but honestly, you have to try to make sure you're eating them with food. You're not eating too many at one time. I've thrown up so many times from eating supplements in the first trimester. My body just couldn't handle it. And so trying to, one, have with food, or two, just scale it back until you feel like you're over this hump, because it really does subside 12 to 13 weeks generally. You feel like you can't go on, and then you wake up one day and it's like the clouds have parted and you're like, how did that even happen? It goes away that quickly, pretty much as quickly as it comes. Buttered toast, like if you get some, like a cast iron, or you don't have to have a cast iron, this is the way I make it, Amish toast, some butter, and then I put my toast in, flip it over, a little more butter, and then I put some jelly on it. That is so good with a piece of bacon and an egg. Like, that is my dream first trimester breakfast. But also, y'all, cold Cara oranges, or cold oranges, and I'm gonna cut them up in slices, and I would keep them in a bag or a bowl in the fridge, and those were so good to me. Like, I craved that cold sweetness a lot, and that was very refreshing and satisfying, especially in the first trimester. Let's talk about aversions. This is so common. Typically for me, garlic is a pretty strong aversion, and I can't even be around it. Like, I can't even smell it. If it's on some, like, Matt's breath or something, I'm like, mm-mm. We used to use this seasoning called Brody Rub, and it had garlic salt in it, and it was an absolute no-go for me. So it's changed a little bit here and there, but sometimes I'd be in the middle of a meal and I would just, like, all of a sudden it sounded gross, but I would just have to give it like a minute or two, even 10 minutes, and then I felt like I could eat it again. It was like this wave kind of passed me, and sometimes I had to take a break in the middle of my meal before I could finish it. Also, I had a tough time getting water in my body. Just honestly, water, I couldn't gulp water. Water didn't sound that great, so I got by putting lemons or limes in my water, adding some electrolytes to my water. I love Just Ingredients electrolytes. You can add some minerals in that, and you can't really taste the minerals. It's a great way to get minerals in your body, but I had to do some different things just to stay hydrated, which isn't completely normal for me. So just adding some, lemons or limes or some fruits to your water can really go a long way to helping you stay hydrated. Okay, ginger tea. Ginger tea, my friends. Ginger tea. It helps so much. I had to carry it with me. We actually went to Nova Scotia in my first trimester, and you best believe, first thing in the morning, I was drinking ginger tea. I actually gave up coffee. It's been over 200 days ago for some health reasons. I have 2 videos on that. And but generally, I didn't crave coffee in the first trimester. Usually it's a pretty strong aversion for women, and then it comes back. And so, just having something warm in your mug can be kind of good, but ginger tea is such a game changer for curbing nausea, and then also just having that warmth in your mug. It's very, very cozy. I would drink it before bed sometimes. I actually had bedtime nausea this time. I've never really had morning sickness in the evening, but I did, and so ginger tea is really, really helpful. I've also heard these ginger chews are really good. I'll link those down below. I haven't personally tried those, but I've got a couple friends who swear by them, so those might be worth a shot as well. I didn't really learn about that until after my first trimester was over. The first trimester is also when you really want to start thinking about your healthcare provider, what you want to do, what kind of birth you want to have, just to start really thinking about it. I think it can be common to think about it later on as you get close to labor, but you're generally going to stick with the healthcare provider that you choose at the beginning. So, just remember, you're like a customer and you're shopping. You don't have to go to the first OBGYN or midwife that you meet with. You can go and interview a couple of different people, pray about it, pray about the vibe you get from them, ask them hard questions. There's actually some really good questions you need to ask them, especially if you're thinking that you might want to have a natural birth. Those are included in the pregnancy survival guide, so make sure you go download that. But it's just really important that you're interviewing them and remembering that you're a customer. They're providing a service to you, that you do not have to go with whoever you've been seeing before for your regular care. So you need to go with somebody who really knows birth and who's going to give you great prenatal care. For me, that has been midwives who are out of the hospital, who have almost their own private practice, because they would spend up to an hour with me. They'd ask me all kinds of questions, and that was really, really helpful to make sure that I wasn't high risk, for them to catch all kinds of things. They gave me nutritional information, supplement information. They helped me troubleshoot things. They got me the help that I needed because they listened. They didn't have a 15-minute slot they had to fit me in. They were almost always on time. It was a very pleasant experience for my prenatal care, because that's something you need to think about. You're going to be going to a lot of appointments. You need to trust the person. You need to interview them. You need to enjoy the time you spend with them, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. And by the end of my care, I really felt like my midwife was my friend, a dear, dear friend, and somebody that I very much trusted to make the calls that they needed to make during labor. If any one of those midwives had told me, Lana, I know you want to have a natural birth, but honestly, this is not safe and we need to transport you, boom, in a second, I would have trusted that person, because I had spent so long getting to know them. And at the end of the day, I trusted my life and my baby's life to their care. So I want you to feel the same way. I don't want you to have any doubts as you get closer, because that can really cause a lot of fear and anxiety. So do your due diligence right now, interview people, and take your time to find the right healthcare provider. And then when you lock in with them, just know that if you get red flags later on, you can always change later on if you really, really need to. It's just way harder to change. So this is the time right now to really interview and find the right person. And let's just say a couple of words about miscarriage. Can we talk about the word miscarriage? There could be no worse name for what has happened. There is no part of you that has miscarried the baby, like you have done something wrong if that were to ever happen to you. That it cannot be further from the truth. The truth is the Lord said no, and that is so hard and so heartbreaking and such a trial for so many women. But here's what I encourage you to live in the present, that today, if the baby is in your womb, to trust God in the present, to be fully there. I love this verse, Isaiah 26:3. I'm going to read it because I don't want to mess up any of it. You will keep the mind that is dependent on you in perfect peace, for it is trusting in you. And that just tells me that no matter what the circumstance is, if our mind is fixed on Jesus, is locked in there, we can trust him. He is worthy to be trusted. And so when your mind starts to drift to all the what ifs that can happen, I really encourage you to come back to thinking about him, to trusting in him, to remembering that he is the author of life and he is knitting this baby together in your womb. He's worthy to be trusted. And if you are scared and you're struggling with the what ifs of miscarriage because it's happened to you before, which by the way, I'm so sorry, I pray that you would just reach out to another woman, have her praying for you. We need other people in our scary, uncertain, trying times. We can't do this walk alone. And so have somebody praying with you. Have somebody know that you're pregnant so that if that does happen, you are not walking this road alone. So I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but honestly, it's a real thing for women, and it's a silent burden that a lot of women are carrying. So if this is a pregnancy after a loss, I pray that God would give you the unique ability to just enjoy this pregnancy, be fully in the present, trust him with all of your cares, your worries, your anxieties, to lay it down at his feet and just have a joy about it and a trusting. And I know that's a big prayer, but I'm asking that for you. Ultimately, congratulations. I am so pumped for you. In a world that does not celebrate babies, I am celebrating big with you. Even if people in your family are not pumped about this pregnancy, it is always a gift. A baby is always a gift. If you're worried about finances, my friend from Venezuela says babies come with arepas under their arms. And what that means is in Venezuela, they eat arepas for breakfast and dinner. It's provision, and babies come with their own unique provision. And so finances can be a tough part of pregnancy. How are we going to provide? How are we going to pay for this baby's birth? All these things. Just trusting, asking the Lord for help, and remembering that babies come with under their little arms, arepas. They come with provision. And so that's what I have to tell myself when I have to think about paying for the midwife is, okay, Lord, you have provided for all of my babies. You will continue to do that. You are the author of life. This baby was also your idea. And so I know that you will provide for your babies. If you care about the ravens and the sparrows and the wildflowers and all of that, I know you care about me. I know he cares about you. I know he cares about your baby. He cares about my baby. And he's going to take care of us. There's so much more I want to talk about. I want to talk about sleep. I want to talk about wardrobe, things like that. It's all in the Pregnancy Survival Guide. Make sure you go grab that down below. And I'll see you again in the next video.
From generation to generation, passed down through every age, there's a story of a Savior whose love will never change. All creation will bow.